Almost going on 4 years now for real estate investing. Got my first house back in 2020, and now I'm up to 16 units as of this year.
Wow. You're in a single family home, you're living the dream. Everyone that I know that has kind of made it to the finish line of financial freedom had to make tough decisions at the start. Folks, we are continuing that series that Millennial Mike suggested. He is such the man. Thank you, Mike. Where we talk to new real estate investors who are in the early part of their journey. Let's welcome Cody to the show so we can see his story. How you doing, Cody?
I'm doing great. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing very, very well, Cody. Why don't you do me a favor? Introduce yourself to the audience, where you're at, what are you doing, where you are in your real estate journey.
Yeah, sure. So Cody Evers, I'm in Northeast Wisconsin, so part of the Midwest, and I'm in my almost going on 4 years now for real estate investing. So I started in 2020. Got my first house back in 2020, and now I'm up to 16 units as of this year.
Wow. Wow. You start with, so the house hack, was that a house or was that like units?
Yeah, so in our area, we have a lot of like side by side duplexes, so that's kind of how I got into it. So we lived in a single family house, and I kind of talked to my wife about like, hey, if we're gonna move the needle at all, we gotta try to do something different. And so we started our first house hack in 2020 and moved out of our single family house, and then actually every year since then we've house hacked as well. So we went so we're on our fourth house hack in 4 years, actually.
Wow. That is so cool. So let me start. So it sounds like you were in a single family home.
Yep.
Wife, do you have kids?
Yeah. Two kids. So I
So
have a,
wife, two kids. Go ahead.
yep. Yeah. I have a 3 year old and then a 6 month old.
Okay. So when you started this, did you have the first one yet?
No, it was right before our first one.
Okay. So just you and your wife, you're in a single family home, you're living the dream. It sounded like you did some work, some analysis saying, hey, honey, if we're going to move the needle financially, there's a different way, better way.
Yep.
So you moved from the house hack to a duplex. I am curious, did you sell the house and thus had the capital to make the down payment to move forward, or did you rent it?
Yeah. So we sold the house and actually had to, in that time frame, if you remember, it was super crazy in the market. So we actually had to sell our house, live in an apartment for a month or two, have the down payment, and then so we were more competitive on offers, without it being contingent on our home selling. So we had to move twice essentially the first time around.
Wow. So again, I want people to hear. I mean, everyone that I know that has kind of made it to the finish line of financial freedom had to make tough decisions at the start. You're a lot like Anna Kelly. Anna Kelly had the big house in Texas. She sells that. She moves to Pennsylvania to be closer to family and buys a fourplex and lives upstairs. They weren't side by side. It was two on the bottom, two on top, with two kids, no less. And she calls that the best financial move she ever made. So you sell the big house, you move into a duplex. Your wife's on, like, was the wife just instantly on board? Did it take some convincing, some discussions? How did that, hey, honey, I want to sell our house and buy a duplex and have tenants next door?
Yeah, it was definitely a journey to get that done. I was probably, educating and listening to podcasts for 2 years before then, and it's like, all right, in order to do anything, we have to cut our expenses, and that was our biggest expense. And then we also had, student loan debt, so we had to, make that change. And then with forbearance, we kind of ended up not, paying down the student loan debt, but that's just kind of our other mindset on it too.
Right. So in that first unit, if you remember, once you get in, you're living there, you got a tenant next to it. I'm always curious, what where did you, like, your mortgage payment on the house was X. What were you paying, in the duplex? I'm gonna guess it was a lot less.
Yeah, I think, well, we got a pretty good mortgage rate for our single family house, so we were only paying like 1,200 a month for that
Okay.
place.
Okay.
But the new duplex, which was probably pretty similar, niceness quality to the house, was we were paying like $600 a month. So we cut our payment in half for sure.
Yeah. Largest expense outside of taxes is housing, shelter. Uh, and again, the beauty of that is that 600 bucks, as you know, is after tax, right?
Yeah,
That's spent out of
yeah,
net,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And then you take that 600, you slam it to the bottom line, and then you save it, and then you buy the next one. So, moving every year, I'm guessing is not a lot of fun, but obviously you've done it 4 times now.
Yep.
But I'm sure it's made a huge difference.
Yeah. Getting the previous unit rented that you used to live in also helped that process. We've done a few other things too, and we can go into that as well. But yeah, so we were able to put in someone in that previous place, and then as we kept going, we moved to the next one, and then same thing. We were able to keep getting that little bit of boost extra for income.
Yeah. So, the next 3 house hacks, was it again side by side duplexes?
Yes. Yep.
All right, so that's 8 units. I think I heard you earlier, I wrote down 16. How'd you get the other 8?
Um, through a variety of ways.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, like the ones that we bought to live in, only two of those are from the MLS. Otherwise, we've done it kind of a variety of ways.
Okay.
Um, One of the ways we did it was call for rent signs, and
Hmm.
so we asked, hey, if you're ever interested in selling, let us know. And then that's kind of how I bought, one of our duplexes that we lived in, and then also bought the one next to it because someone owned multiple on the same street, and so we ended up buying two next to each other.
From the
So we
same
did that.
seller? From the same
Yep,
seller?
same seller.
Okay.
I was looking to buy, all of them, but it ended up not working out that way. So, but he ended up selling to another person that bought all the rest of them.
Okay. All right. So again, I want to hit that right. Again, you were how big of an area are you investing in? Is it like a 30-minute drive, kind of around an hour? How big?
So my traditional market was all within 15, 20 minutes,
Okay.
because we live in the Fox Valley here in Northeast Wisconsin. And so that's, about 200,000 people, maybe 250.
Okay.
So there's enough within that
Yeah.
area. My last couple deals were a little bit further out. And so those are about 45 minutes away from me.
And those ones that are further out, I'm going to guess just based on how you said that those aren't part of your house hack. That's
Correct.
additional
No.
investment. Okay.
Yep. Those were just, I recently bought this year.
Okay. And were those again duplexes or what were those?
Yeah, so those were two duplexes, a single family house from the same seller.
Oh, again. Okay.
Yep.
So again, I love the idea of calling on for rent signs. Again, what I'm getting from you, Cody, and your wife's first name is what?
Miranda.
Miranda. Yeah, Cody and Miranda. You're taking action, right? You're not only listening to podcasts, but you're also taking action. I'm sure you heard on some podcast somewhere call for rent signs. You're like, hey, I could do that. You saw a for rent sign, you called it. How many times do you think you've called a for rent sign and gotten nothing?
A lot, a lot more than definitely getting something out of it because most people they have their own plans for it, but
Yeah.
20, 30 times for sure
I
that
I would
just
I
don't
would
work out.
I wouldn't have been surprised if you said 100. But
Yeah,
what I want people to realize is calling for rent signs is a great idea, but it's a numbers game, right? I have for rent signs on all my units when they're available. I can tell you in 20 plus years, I want to make sure I get this right. We've probably had 3 to maybe 5 people call like you saying, hey, would you be interested in selling? Now, of course, my answer was no. I'm a long term landlord, but
right.
just the action of calling on for rent signs starts that discussion. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's what allowed me to buy the next building next door because it was the same owner, so it got
Yeah,
me into two places.
that's amazing. So you got 4 units out of 1 phone call.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
That
And
doesn't
we
suck.
actually lived in both of them, so
Oh, there you go. There you go. I am curious about the house hacks. I'm guessing you got traditional financing for all 4, but that's just a guess.
yeah. So yeah, the 30
30-year
year
fixed
fixed
rate
rate.
debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get because you were living there, did you get 5% down loans or 10% down? Do you
Um
remember?
Yeah, so one way, our first one we did a 5% down, so that was the
Yeah.
first one, and then a couple of the next ones we did 10% down, and that we did for a couple of reasons. If you do 10% down with our local credit union, then you didn't have to pay PMI and that kind of thing. So then you'd
Yeah.
save there. So it was like, okay, we could do five, but then decided to have a little bit less of a payment and do 10.
Oh yeah. I think it's a great idea. Less borrowed, certainly less. I mean, I would make the same trade, right? PMI might be 120 bucks, but still that's 120 bucks you could put in your pocket. Again, assuming you have the down payment capital. It makes total sense.
Yep.
It sounds like you did other things besides calling for rent signs. What else have you done to find deals?
So another one, two of my properties are from someone that was a family friend that I talked to and
Oh,
I've been working with for 3 years, and she had like 30 units that she was ready to offload. So I ended up buying two of her properties, and then I also bought the 5 units from this year was actually from Craigslist ad. Someone
wow.
was looking to sell their 8 units, and I didn't necessarily want all eight because of some of them didn't make sense to me. So I bought the
Sure.
5 units that did make sense. And so the Craigslist one, and then actually my HVAC guy let me know if someone's that was selling one of his duplexes, and that was another way I got into a different duplex. So it's kind of a variety of ways.
So what I'm taking from all of this is that what I hope people take from this is you're a man of action. Um, I forget your wife's name's Miranda? No.
Yep, Miranda.
I should have been more confident. I got to write that down. You and Miranda are taking action moving forward. I'm curious how you finance all of these. Were all of these bank loans, or did you get some seller financing, or how'd that all go down?
Yeah, so we have done a variety. So we have a few that are traditionally bank financed, and then some of them are the DSCR loans.
Hmm.
And then we've also done the 50/40/10 that
Oh,
you've definitely been help with there.
nice.
And then I've done traditional like 90% seller financing with me bringing 10%
Mhm.
to the table. So I've done that too.
Yeah, let's talk about the 50/40/10 because it is a very powerful tool when the opportunity presents itself. So if you did the traditional 50/40/10, you got a 50% first from Velocity Mortgage or like institution, maybe your community bank. But then the seller took back a 40% and then you brought 10. So
Yep.
talk about having that conversation with the seller about, "Hey, I want you to take back 40% of this purchase price in a loan." How did that happen? How'd the conversation go? How'd they trust you? Get the audience to understand how that really plays out.
Yeah, so I took a day and went and visited all the properties with the seller. And so we went to each property, had a conversation about each one. And then I asked them, just questions of like, hey, what are you looking for the money? Or, what's your big tickets? Do you need a certain price? Those kind of questions, like what's important to you? And we talked a little bit about subject to originally because he had lower rate mortgages on there, but I just didn't feel like that strategy fit what I was looking to do, and same for him on his side. So
Cool.
we were looking to have a loan to make sure we got that lender that loan taken care of,
Yep. Hmm.
so a lender to pay off that loan. But then he was
Sure.
comfortable bringing a second because and then he brought the terms even with that because I got a good enough deal on the purchase price. So
Nice.
we just did like a 5%, 30-year AM and then a
Second.
5-year balloon. But with
Okay.
the purchase price, I got a good enough deal, 20, 25% off of what, what it appraised for. So it made sense to me
Yep.
too.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the 50/40/10 is a wonderful tool when the opportunity presents itself. And the hardest part of that is getting the seller to take back the 40% because it is second position.
Yep.
Um, but again, if you get the right price, their terms, 5-year balloon, I like 10, but again, if somebody's going to give me a 25% discount, I'll take a 5-year balloon all day long. It's pretty awesome. Um, I am curious, when you got started 4 years ago, could you have imagined? I mean, seriously, could you have imagined having 6 units, 16 units 4 years later? Could you have imagined that?
So I I definitely had lofty goals originally,
Okay.
and so I I kind of had like an internal struggle of like, how fast can we do it? And
Mhm.
I realized like, great things definitely take time. And, with you and Dion and the rest of the guys saying like, it's going to take 5 to 10 years to actually build the portfolio
Mhm.
realistically. You might have some of the guys like, the Cody and Christians of the world that are going to do it in 2 years, but
Yeah.
most of the time it's going to take 5 to 10. And I had that, realization over this past time because there's a lot of hard work. Things don't work out
Yeah.
exactly how you expect. We've had a pretty tough like last 6 months stretch with problems, and it hasn't been a straight line, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's acknowledge the hard times. One of the things I often say is the first 5 years test you. You know, you've heard lots of my painful stories. Um, let's talk about the last 6 months. Tell us, just some things that can happen that can surprise you on the journey.
Yeah, so we had 10 units originally, and then we bought a couple later this year. But
Right.
out of those 10, we had five of them vacant in the span of 3 months. And
Oh,
so it
that
was just
hurts.
like, people buying houses, like, so they're upgrading, and so
Yeah.
there's just a ton of turnover that was kind of not really
Not planned
your
for.
fault. Like
Yeah.
it just kind of happened, and so then it's vacant for a month or something, plus the
Mhm.
rehab that goes into it to fix it up a little bit, and then so there
Yeah.
was just a lot of, it's vacant for a month, so you lose out the rent, plus you're putting 2 grand into it, and then you just do that 5 times. It gets to be pretty
Yeah.
challenging after that.
It gets to be challenging. Yeah, absolutely. That's why you got to have reserves, right? Again, um, I really do think I think real estate investing is the most surest way to financial freedom for everyone. But those first 5 years test you, i.e., you go years and don't have a problem. Then out of nowhere, five people buy homes. You have five vacancies in 6 weeks, and you're like, "Wow, didn't plan for that."
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I tell people. One of the things I really want people to do is take a measured pace. I think sometimes people get in, maybe they have capital, maybe they have a great first experience, and then they just jump on the accelerator. I'm like, gotta slow down, right? If you're going to put together this puzzle, don't be in a rush because if you try to slam too many pieces together too fast, you could get got if you don't have the reserves.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had to, dig into those reserves this year. And we're
Yeah.
actually, debating on if we should sell something to kind of make sure that we're stabilized going forward and make a little bit more conservative approach to what's going on in the, economy. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what we're thinking of doing too.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, sometimes you get into this, you get a little too close to the bone, if you will, and the right answer. Because again, I want you and the audience watching this to realize this is a 10-year game. It's not You're not trying to get this done in 4. Now, if it happens in 4, by all means be great. But if you act like it's a 10-year journey and you make decisions like that, one of the outcomes might be, you know what, honey, let's sell one. Let's list it in January because I'm going to guess Wisconsin's really, really cold in December. Probably not a
Yes.
great time to list homes.
No.
Maybe it's February, but I mean, listing one where you have equity, maybe it's already vacant or whatever, um, to replenish the coffers. Not a horrible idea. Certainly not a horrible idea. Something Olivia and I know we would consider.
Yeah, thank you. And what we're considering as well is one of our duplexes, we're going to consider condoing it off. So splitting it into two separate parcels and then selling it
Oh
off
wow.
individually to hopefully make a decent spread that way as well. So
So tell me
we're
about
looking
that.
at doing.
Is that something specific to Wisconsin that is new or has it always been there or how does that work?
I believe it's, I don't know, nationwide if they're able to, but it's been around here for a while.
Oh, it
So
has?
it
Okay.
just depends on the community. Some allow you to, and some don't. And I've done it before. So one of our
Oh,
house hacks, we actually did it, and it actually worked out pretty well. And
I
so
bet.
we considered doing it again with like this property because our rent compared to the equity we have in the building just doesn't make sense because like the rent we're getting for the building just isn't that much, but we have a
Not
huge
yeah.
equity spot there, so it's like we're not going to get a huge return on the rent side, but we
Yeah.
could get a huge return on the equity and then redeploy it to
Yeah.
pay off some debt and then kind of redeploy capital potentially too, depending on what we want to do with it.
sounds like you've done this before. I'm curious. I've never done something like this. It's actually brand new, I think, to California, so it's like a month old. But what did it cost? Do you remember what it cost to basically? I don't know what it's called, a plot map or APN or what. How do you do
Yeah,
it? What's it cost to split something?
yeah. So the time we did it, it was about like $4,000. So I think the actual company that did the land survey was like 2,500 ish, and then you had to work with a lawyer who set everything up, got
Yep.
the condo documents in place, and then we had to file it with the county. And so um, that whole process probably around 4 grand. So then,
Okay.
but that allowed it to have substantial gains on the equity side because you
I'm
can sell
sure.
each individually. So like with the place that we're looking at would probably sell for 325 as a duplex, but we could potentially sell each side for 200 or 220, like in that range. So
Exactly.
you make a huge spread like after doing that.
Yeah. So call it 4 grand. Is it a 3 to 6 month process?
Yeah, I think it took like 3 4 months last time.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Cody, that's a no brainer to me, right? Uh, you've done it before. Sounds like you have an equity spread, but not a lot of cash flow in this property. Uh, there's an old saying: "Buy by the foot, sell by the inch."
Yeah.
I mean, that's a strategy, right? Go buy the duplexes, then condoize them, and make. I mean, I'm just gonna. I'm literally, my head is spinning right now. Um, I would probably make that a strategy in my market. Is I would go find one of those a year, condoize it, have that produce chunk money, then chunk money feeds my cash flow machine. It sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, it's something I've definitely considered. The places that are worth condoing will negative cash flow. So you gotta just play the game like, hey, you gotta make sure you can condo in that market, but then
Yeah, you got to be
also
certain. You got to be
um,
certain.
then that next piece is, are you willing to be negative cash flow for a while until you are able to split it too? So
Yeah,
that's a couple things there too.
yeah. I would not. I'm a huge no alligators fan. But what I see in this, and again, I've never done it, but what I see in that, you're basically flipping the property. I
Yeah.
wouldn't consider it a standard kind of cash flow thing. It's a flip. I'm going to buy the foot and I'm going to sell two 6 inch segments and make the spread. Um, Man, if I was in a market where that was something certain, that I would definitely be doing that once a year.
Okay.
Uh,
That's good to know, and that's something maybe I'll just to get that equity out each year to have that to play with
yeah, you
for
just need to do
future
one, right?
cash flow. Yeah,
Just one a year, one a year. And again, what I'm hearing you in these numbers is if I did one of these a year, it probably would allow me to buy two cash flow ones.
yeah,
That's what I'm just
potentially.
playing with
Yep.
the numbers in my head. This is pretty cool. Um, what is some advice you have for folks that, follow one rental at a time, getting excited about investing? Um, what would you and Miranda tell a couple getting started or whatnot? What's some advice, Cody?
Um, the biggest thing is to get like take action and get started, even if like the first one is always the hardest, and once you get past that, because everything is brand new, the first time you're doing an inspection, the first time you have to write an offer, all that kind of stuff. Once you get past that initial, I don't know, like worry, like it gets a lot easier and you feel a lot more comfortable. And so, like to make an offer on a property, it's not like it was previously. So that would be the biggest thing is just get to that first one, like make an offer, just make a great offer, like you always say. So I just get to that point, and then the rest will kind of roll from there. And then the other part is to make sure you have your cash reserves because we definitely needed it this past year, just with all the stuff that we've had happen. And then it's kind of funny, like once I got all my vacancies filled, we ended up having a furnace go out, for a $3,000 pop there. So it's like
Ah,
whatever, it is what it is.
yeah, it is what it is. So, where do you guys go from here? You're at 16 units now, couple of kids. You're still house hacking? Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
You're still house? Where do you go from here? You do still house hack once a year, or the wife and kids getting tired of moving, or what's going on?
So when we originally started, I promised my wife that in 2025 we'd buy a house. So
Okay. All
So
right. So
potentially that is down the road. So maybe I can fit another house hack in there. We'll see. But um,
honey, I
um,
said 2025. I didn't say January 2025. It's
yep,
a long
exactly.
year.
Yep, exactly. So that's
That's funny.
probably one of the goals, and then after that is to get to financial freedom. We're not quite there with what we have yet, but is there a way to optimize our portfolio, or just keep buying a little bit, and then so that's
Yeah.
kind of
You've got to
what
be
we're looking at
close,
the next
right? I
step.
mean, when I say close, you're more than 50% there, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so we have a third party manager,
Mhm.
so we don't we, not as much comes to our bottom line, right? So
Sure.
if we decided to take back and self manage it, we'd be a lot closer to that number. So
Sure.
that's
Sure.
something I've considered both ways, and right now I like the time and spend time with my kids and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
You're in
um,
building mode. You're building. Yeah.
yeah, and so like we might as well just keep going for a while,
Mhm.
and then maybe at some point then we could either turn back and self manage, or maybe if rent growth and all that kind of stuff, it would come
Yeah.
sooner that way
Yeah.
too. So
But you're certainly on a path. I'll say it if you don't want to, that by 2028 or certainly by 2030, which would be the 8 to 10 year mark, assuming you continue to be action oriented, live below your means, you don't do anything stupid financially,
yep.
you'll be there. I mean, the path seems pretty clear to me at this point.
Yeah, I can see it now, whereas 4 years ago it was so far off, but now I can see like it's
Yeah.
actually like within reason that it could happen between 3 and 5 years from now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've helped people. Yeah. It's there for you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Um, really for you, in my opinion, it's about avoiding the big blow up. And you got a little taste of it, it sounds like this year. Hence the hey, we should condoize this unit, sell it, replenish the cash flow, don't live so close to the edge. Because one of the things that I did when I got really creative is I just kept leaning forward. And, thankfully I had a job that, that would produce a commission check every month or so, so that if we had one of those months, we would be okay. But, sometimes it's like, hey, you need to go slower to go faster, if that makes sense. And I'm saying this for you and obviously the entire audience watching. So, um, Cody, do you have a social media following, or do you have places you can send people, or part of the Facebook group? Where should, if somebody wanted to know more, how would they reach out? Maybe.
I would say probably the easiest would be on Facebook. It's just Cody Evers on Facebook. You can reach out, message me, and
Okay.
I'm in your Facebook group. So I try to be active, but
Yeah.
uh,
So, folks, if you're in the group, 2,000 plus members, private group only for students, go ahead and ping Cody. Let him know how he did. He did a great job. Him and his wife, Miranda. Congratulations, Cody and Miranda. Thank you.
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh. You got it.